They call it progress. In the Delta Radio Newsroom, I'm Chris Davis.
Grab a shovel, and we're going to look out for the muddy areas right here. We're going to go behind the mound for our picture, please.
That's the groundbreaking for the Highway 82 bypass Phase 2 this morning.
Utah, as well as the engineering services and the MDOT staff, are telling me that Thanksgiving Day 2025, you'll be riding on this corridor.
Transportation Commission Chairman Willie Simmons. On another highway, a fatal wreck Sunday. Andronita Williams reports.
The Mississippi Highway Patrol.
With news on 103.9 WIAB, I'm Chris Davis. You're hearing an MDOT plow attached to the front of an inloader, getting it done on Highway 51 in DeSoto County, where they got about 5 inches of snow in some places. The Metro got ice and sleet and an annoying layer on the cars. How your state senators voted on Medicaid expansion.
We need to do the right thing by our brothers and sisters in this state and provide access to health care.
That's State Senator Derek Simmons of Greenville trying to change the Senate Medicaid expansion bill to be less strict about who would qualify.
These are working Mississippians. These are mothers. These are women of childbearing age.
His amendment failed, but the bill to expand Medicaid with a 30-hour per week work requirement for people who make about $15,000 or less per year passed. It now goes back to the House. No votes from Republicans Lydia Chassenall and Jennifer Branning. Democrats Bradford Blackman and Rod Hickman voted yes to expand Medicaid. Now, if you're traveling to see family this Easter weekend, the state gas average is down a penny to $3.04, says Gas Buddy. It's well below that at several stations in Carthage that have it for $2.97. It's generally around $3.08 per gallon in Kosciuszko and Goodman. It's $3.09 on the interstate in Pickens, $3.19 in Durant, $3.49 at one station in Philly.
Swing and strike three. It's dropped. The Whipples have to throw down, and they get him. And that will end the inning. And is it in the game? It does indeed end the game.
Breck on the call there with a shutout win for the Kosciuszko Whippets last night, beating the Louisville Wildcats in Louisville. That's their second time beating Louisville this week. Their record is now 10-6, and you can see that baseball game at breezynews.com and read about some new Holmes Community College football coaches, too. Read about the multiple incidents in Philadelphia last night at Kicks96news.com and Cruisin98news.com. In the MaxSouth Broadband News and Weather Center, I'm Chris Davis. With news on 103.9 WIAB, I'm Chris Davis.
Once we catch the first person through this team and the technology, we are going to perp walk the individuals responsible. I'm serious.
Mayor Lumumba, along with Jackson Police Chief Joseph Wade, announcing a new anti-litter team.
I announced the NET team, Neighborhood Enhancement Team. 2
sworn cops looking to arrest the people responsible for littering up the city. The Sunday shooting at Mary C. Jones Park included an 8-year-old victim.
Zakia Winford, 19 years of age, that got into a physical altercation with another young lady. And, of course, at that time, she introduces a gun to the situation.
5 people, including the shooter, were shot. No one died. 3 people shot Monday at a gas station on Clinton Boulevard. All of them survived, and cops are looking for a blue mid-sized SUV. No motive discussed. No excuse early voting in Mississippi for now. The bill that would have set that up died in the state legislature. Beautification at the Jackson Zoo by AmeriCorps volunteers has been happening.
Every time we come back to Mississippi, it feels like a second home to me.
AmeriCorps member Katie Toppin, part of the Keep Jackson Beautiful campaign. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WIAB. I'm Chris Davis.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A nightmare in broad daylight. All of the rain is somewhere else, like Richmond and Kokomo, but nothing on radar in Indianapolis. Temperature 91 right now. I'm Chris Davis. Here's what's trending at 5:02. The wreck of the mini semi-trucks near Lebanon. 93 WIBC's Matt Baer explains why you want to avoid Boone County on I-65.
2 semi-crashes on southbound 65 before US 50. WIBC traffic from the WIBC Traffic Center.
And it is a hot day to be stuck. Boone County Sheriff's Deputy Wesley Garst walking the interstate.
Currently, we have a deputy, myself and another deputy walking all this traffic, checking on people in cars. It's really hot out here. We want to make sure everybody's hydrated.
You may be a bit safer after last month's many arrests. Donnie Burgess spoke with U.S. Marshals just minutes ago.
U.S. Marshals across the country packed up and hit the streets, arresting over 1,500 violent offenders from 10 different cities. One of those was the Circle City.
In Indianapolis, we arrested over 60.
The shooting at the Greenwood Park Mall food court. 4 people are dead. I'm Chris Davis with what went down about 6 o'clock Sunday evening.
It appears that he had a rifle with several magazines of ammunition, entered the food court and began shooting.
That's Greenwood Police Chief Jim Eisen, 93 WIBC's Eric Berman.
Police say the gunman was armed with a rifle and several magazines and opened fire in the food court around 6 p.m. Police Chief Jim Eisen says another customer with a gun shot and killed him.
We believe at this time investigators are still questioning the individual involved, but it appears that a good Samaritan that was armed observed the shooting in progress and shot the shooter.
2 people have been taken to the hospital with gunshot wounds. In Greenwood, Eric Berman, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
None of the authorities, including the FBI, ATF, Greenwood Police, Indianapolis Metro Police, are discussing a motive at this point, and they did not have an ID on the guy as of Sunday evening. They were interviewing everybody who was in the mall. In the food
Very
court.
little can prepare you for witnessing or being in the middle of a mall shooting. Chris Davis reports on the shooting at a mall in Greenwood Sunday night.
Lots of crying, lots of not knowing where the shooter was coming from, because it was so loud. We didn't know if it was in Old Navy.
Olivia Harding and her mom hit the deck when they heard the shots. She tells Wish TV.
It was like one of those moments where you don't know where it was happening.
While it's tough to be prepared for such a happenstance, there was one person who was not only prepared, but who was willing to act. That was a 22-year-old from Bartholomew County, says Greenwood Police Chief Jim Eisen.
The real hero of the day is the citizen that was lawfully carrying a firearm in that food court and was able to stop this shooter almost as soon as he began.
That person's name was not given out Sunday evening. Chris Davis, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
4 people killed, including
the Greenwood Park Mall shooter never said why he was aiming his rifle into the food court Sunday evening. Chris Davis reports on the clues he may have left behind.
A cell phone left in the toilet and a laptop left in an oven at the apartment. The oven was turned on. But even though he may have tried to bake his motive into oblivion, Greenwood Police Chief Jim Eisen promises a thorough forensic exam of that hard drive.
But we did retrieve the laptop, and that is going to go to Quantico to be analyzed. It's been damaged due to the heat in the oven.
Jonathan Spearman of Greenwood had no job, no car, and walked to the mall to carry out the shooting. Eisen says Spearman's family had no idea this was going to happen.
They were just as surprised as everyone else was. They said there were no indicators that he was violent or unstable.
Chris Davis, 93 WIBC.
Chris Davis
Mobile
reports
News.
on why they believe they have the right to be there.
A vote Tuesday afternoon is expected to determine whether the strike continues.
The university would face many, many consequences if it took the initiative to actively retaliate against striking graduate workers.
Anna Kavalerchik, one of the strike leaders, says
the abortion ban bill has one of the state's largest conventions threatening to pull out.
Passage of Senate Bill 1 will have an impact on our stakeholders and attendees and will make it more difficult for us to remain committed to Indiana as our long-term annual home.
Chris Davis speaks with Gen Con President David Hoppe.
But, at the end of the day, I like to think that, we can check our politics at the door and just sit down and have a good time playing games.
I think that's kind of not possible with a statement like that. You can't check your politics at the door whenever you've made your politics very public.
I think you can. I think this is more about where we choose to hold our event. But this is not really about us as organizers. It is really about the folks who want to come here and play, and they can certainly. We would expect that people are just sitting down to play games just for the purpose of enjoying that.
Gen Con's contract with Indy goes through 2026.
A man shot in the
basement of an old bank in downtown Gary are the reminders and remainders of a once magnificent city of steel. Chris Davis reports on changing the perception of Scary Gary.
Gold lines the vault in the room where safe deposit boxes once held the riches of people who were some of Indiana's richest citizens. but plaster falls from the walls and ceilings and remains on the floor. That's how many people see Gary. Mayor Jerome Prince tells Inside Indiana Business he sees his city as a place of opportunity.
I travel through the city. I take my family. My wife and I ride our bicycles throughout the entire city.
He says he does not feel unsafe and that businesses are coming back to his city with a reputation played out with urban explorers on YouTube. Houses are being renovated and Alliance Steel has moved its headquarters there. Chris Davis, 93 WIBC Mobile News. That's the kind of reception you get when you win a state championship. And Kosciuszko and Neshoba Central both got it done this weekend.
We're far from perfect, but we are not going to quit. Somebody's going to have to outgrind us at the end, and nobody did.
For the Lady Whippets, it was tough with a loss in Game 1, but Games 2 and 3 were won with the leadership of the seniors, says Coach Tony Terry.
You know, they're such good leaders that they're not going to let the rest of them quit.
I was just thinking, have fun and just get a base hit.
Gracie Williams is a sophomore, and her walk-off single in the bottom of the 8th in Game 3 was key.
Okay, so what are you thinking when you actually got the base hit?
I was like, I didn't know if Casey was going to go home or not, but when I saw her going home, I just started jumping.
The Neshoba Central Lady Rockets won the 5A state championship series, which is their 8th straight title in a row. What they prayed about. Beautiful Friday, sunny, 74. Beautiful Saturday, sunny, 82. Sunday is okay, but rain is back Sunday night. Your complete forecast is coming up. From the MaxSouth Broadband News and Weather Center, I'm Chris Davis. Here's what's trending.
I prayed for church, first responders, family, and the media.
I prayed for the businesses and that God would protect us all from this coronavirus.
Joshie Land and Abigail Steele were part of the National Day of Prayer, observed in Kosciuszko at Redbud Springs Park Thursday.
This is part of a national movement that's been going on for decades.
Reverend Philip Palmertree, First Pres.
And there's a lot of there are brochures, publicity that goes out nationwide to help people think about...
You're accepted.
You're hearing Clay Kugel, a special education student at Noxapater, getting some news about his future.
Decided that we were going to let you have your own National Signing Day.
He was accepted into the Mississippi State University Access Program to help people with developmental disabilities go to college and earn their certificate of completion.
This is your official acceptance letter.
Put that thing on, boy.
Doesn't guarantee they'll get a job, but the program has helped people become successful.
How to learn to be on my own and new friends, and I'm excited. Hail State.
Good luck, Clay. Get his story at Kicks96news.com when the storm hits home. Sunny and 87 today. Clear and 63 tonight. Sunny and 86 Friday. Your complete forecast is coming up in the MaxSouth Broadband News and Weather Center. I'm Chris Davis. Here's what's trending.
I was in my office when I heard thunder and sudden heavy rain. Then I heard what I thought was a really loud crack of thunder. I heard an extremely loud noise and felt the building shake.
Boswell Media employee Ashley Davis.
I still didn't know what happened, so I went around inside the building trying to figure it out. I saw a line hanging in front of the building and some damaged wood from the roof outside of the window, so I knew something had fallen onto the radio station.
What it was the radio tower. A tree had fallen on one of the guy wires, and the tower came crashing down on the building. Some people thought that the storm that came through Kosciuszko was a tornado. National Weather Service meteorologist Eric Carpenter says he doesn't think so.
With this kind of setup, you had a lot of rain and hail falling into very hot air, and there's a lot of wind that gets generated in that situation. We get what we call microbursts.
A microburst has winds that push out in multiple directions, kind of like a tornado.
They're kind of the opposite in process versus a tornado, but you can get tornado-like winds.
They may still send a survey team to find out for sure.
Having said that, we don't close the book on things until after thorough investigation.
Atala County Emergency Management Director Danny Townsend.
Nobody that I have talked with has actually saw a funnel or saw a tornado. We were under a severe thunderstorm warning at that particular time, and of course they can produce 70 to 80 mile an hour winds.
And the damage?
Numerous structures has got damage. We got some commercial structures has damage, trees, power lines down. mainly on the west side of Kosciuszko and just outside the city.
The Strand Theater and Atala County Library and some downtown businesses like the Guitar Academy, some of the buildings that took damage. Atala County Circuit Clerk Wanda Fancher has died from complications of coronavirus. Breck Riley with some thoughts.
We did work closely with her during election season to get...
This is breaking news from the 93 WIBC News Center.
Shooting at the Indianapolis International Airport FedEx facility. I'm Chris Davis with breaking news here on 93 WIBC. The initial calls came in just after 11 o'clock this evening, and IMPD is now calling this a mass casualty level 1 situation with multiple victims. Right now on the phone is Indiana State Police Sergeant John Perrine. All right, Sergeant Perrine, why is the interstate shut down right now, and what can people expect if they're driving in that area?
Well, as of right now, the interstate is reopened.
Indiana Journalist of the Year comes to us from WIBC News Director Chris Davis. Our judges say Chris Davis had a very impressive year reporting live on Indianapolis rioting and providing award-winning coverage of the Democratic primary and Pete Buttigieg's run for president while running a newsroom and writing and producing quarterly news documentaries.
It might sound like arguing, or at least loud talking. When you hear that, though, you know a voter has changed sides and is caucusing for someone else.
My biggest attribute in a candidate is someone who's young, energetic.
Like Justin Jordan, who had been caucusing for Andrew Yang.
A good critical thinker, which Yang and Pete both, I feel, are.
He was forced to convert to supporting Mayor Pete when Yang was no longer viable, meaning he didn't make the cut. In Pleasantville, Iowa, Chris Davis, 93 WIBC Mobile News. Okay, tear gas fired in front of the State House.
Fuck that, I don't want no more.
Apparently pretty effective at dispersing people. Yeah, I did run out of one of my shoes, and it's gone. And that was a nice pair, too. Okay, I'm going to end my live Twitter video right now, but thank you for being a part of it.
They pepper sprayed me, man.
The protest in Indianapolis, like a lot of them across the country.
The Deputy Chief of Police and the
You'll now hear sounds from what happened on Monument Circle about 10 Friday night when cops and protesters met face to face. No social distancing here.
As long as you guys don't hurt anybody and everything. Now,
if you don't want to hurt anybody,
The protest had been peaceful and orderly. Then a young woman was put in cuffs. That's what protesters blamed for the confrontation.
You put her down on the ground and put the nightstick in her back, and she did nothing. This is why we are all out here.
His colleagues say he has taken a mix of young talent and veteran news people and created a cohesive team of hungry reporters with the will to perform at a high level and who take pride in the work that is done day in and day out.
9 people killed in a shooting at the FedEx facility at the Indianapolis International Airport. Chris Davis reports on the tough words for family members to hear.
We're asking that if you have family members that work at FedEx and you have not been able to make contact with them, that you go to the Holiday Inn Express.
At their 1:15 news conference this morning, Indianapolis Metro Police Officer Janae Cook couldn't say much publicly then about how many people had been shot or whether they were even alive or dead.
IMPD chaplain's office, along with several others, will be at that location to assist.
Guess what? No temperature is below freezing. Mid-30s today, 32 tonight, in the 40s Tuesday. It's like a weather jackpot. You'll hear more about that in just a minute. Radar is clear, but the clouds are still here. It's 32 right now. I'm Chris Davis. Here's what's trending at noon. You might have heard this one from the sisters at Shawshank. When the lights go down in the prison, the fights break out, apparently. Or at least that's what happened this morning at the Marion County Jail number 2.
From our understanding was Indianapolis Power and Light was tracking down problems in their line, and they needed to disconnect the line to deal with the ice.
When the lights went out, the generator didn't come back on, and that was just the first part of the cluster, says Marion County Sheriff Kerry Forrestall. That's when the real number 2 went down at jail number 2.
Approximately 8 prisoners were transported for minor injuries. Some broken bones. We believe occurred during the fall when they were moving around in the dark.
They got it back under control, but still weren't clear why the generator crapped out. It was tested Friday.
On top of leading the newsroom, Chris also single-handedly completed 5 documentaries in 2020, led his team in covering every angle of the coronavirus using Zoom and other remote technology, came into work to show firsthand leadership during the pandemic, and composed hundreds of on-air stories and their online companion pieces and social media posts. I'm tired just reading that.
Do you remember the last thing that he said to you and the last thing that you said to him?
I thought Ryan was doing better. I went to get my mom at the airport, and when I came back, they wanted to put him in a coma because they wanted to slow his body down, hoping the medicines would work better. And so I had left, and I had went and got my mom. She had flown up from Florida because she wanted to be with Ryan, and they wanted to do it right away. So I didn't get to say a lot. I remember us talking, and he said, "Mom, if I got a chance, I want to go for it." And I said, okay, and I gave him a big hug and told him I loved him, and I didn't really ever think that was going to be the last time, that I would see him. I don't know. That was hard because I had left.
April 7th.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here in Indiana.
The Farm Aid concert is held in Indianapolis. Elton John, who had been at the hospital for over a week with the family, dedicates a song to his friend.
This one's for Ryan. But it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind.
But many of the performers who had gone to see Ryan in the hospital are there to sing, to raise money and awareness for America's farmers, and to send good vibes to the young man who was in a medically induced coma.
But here in the real world, it's not that easy at all. 'Cause when hearts get broken, it's real tears that fall.
The morning after Farm Aid.
It is with great sadness and deeply felt personal loss that I must inform you that Ryan White has died of the complications of his AIDS.
That lifestyle is not healthy for anybody.
Shauna Majors tells her story. She's now the director of Community Violence Reduction in Indianapolis. And her own experience is part of what fuels her passion for keeping it from happening to anyone else. If you don't mind sharing, do you remember what that felt like?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It felt like I was punched really hard in the back, and then it felt like electricity.
But shootings and violence downtown tend to have a genesis somewhere else. I'm Chris Davis at Perry Meridian High School, where people were already lined up before the polls opened this morning. This man says he's concerned about how fast voting will go all day long, but he's more concerned about what will happen after voting is over tonight and the results come in.
I hope everything will be okay. I just don't want to see people rioting or being upset, destroying stuff.
Chris Davis, our Indiana Journalist of the Year.